Don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and thieves break in and steal. Instead, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy nor thieves break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. There are things that God does that we don't see it when it's happening. It's just because we're so caught up in the moment. But you look back in hindsight and you go, God, I see your fingerprints. I see what you're trying to do there. God will make everything very clear. He'll burn off all the other fluff that you have on you, just so what's left at the end is just Him. Even the best things you do with the right intentions, if it's not discerned, can lead to a bad choice. He looks at me and he's in tears and he goes, you did that for me? I said, yeah, I did. He said, why would you do that for me? And I said to him, somebody paid my debts a long time ago. He said to me, he says, you've restored. I know God is real now.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Union Apparel podcast, where we share real life stories to restore hope and point people to Jesus. My name is Omar, and I am super excited, as I am with every episode, to introduce you to my guest today and to hear his story. But before we do that, there's a couple of public service announcements I got to get out of the way. So the first one being that if you like this channel, or if you resonate with some of the stories that we've shared, would you kindly consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, sharing it with somebody that you think could benefit from it, and hitting that bell icon, because then every time we drop a new episode, you will be notified. I'm told that by doing all of these things, that's going to help push these stories out. So that would be a huge help if you guys would kindly consider doing that. And the second thing I wanted to mention was that today's episode has been made possible by the generosity of a really good friend of mine, Jeff Peters. And Jeff Peters is a dear friend, and he's also the owner of Canadian Car and Truck here in downtown Langley. So if you guys are looking to buy, lease a car, truck, SUV, whatever, you got to go see him. And not just because you know he's got a nice big collection, but also because Jeff is just an incredible human being. He's a dear friend. He loves the Lord. He loves people. And it's such a privilege to have him in my life. So go see him. If you are in the Lower Mainland, in the Fraser Valley, and you have any car needs, you go see Jeff, the corner of 200th Street and Fraser Highway. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my dear friend, Nav.
Hey.
Welcome, Nav. Thanks for being here. And you know what? I have never, all this time I've known you, I've never asked you for your last name. What is your last name?
Yeah, it sounds very French, but it's Vijan, V-I-J-A-N.
V-I-J-A-N.
You know, I get that Vijan sometimes, but no, it's not that. It's V-I-J-A-N. Yes.
Well, I think you and I are similar in that it's just first name only, kind of like Bono and Sting, right? We're like first name only. So
thank you. I feel very I feel very special
in
now.
Good company, right?
Yeah.
So now Nav and I met. I'm going to tell you how we met, but Nav, you can give the audience your version.
Okay.
But my version, as I remember it, is that church service was ending. I was coming out. It's busy. Yeah. And all of a sudden, this man approaches me and he puts his hand out. He's like, hey, buddy, has anyone ever told you that you look like Jeff Goldblum? And I was like, I'm a little younger and a little better looking, but yes, I've had that before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have you guys be the judge. I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull up.
Come on. You would think that's his picture. No, it's not, right?
So, Jeff
was I
Goldblum.
spot on? Was I? Really come on, was I spot on?
Yes.
So that is how we met, and then we just hit it off, and we ended up subsequently having coffee. So that's my intro to Nav. Did I miss anything? What was going through your head when you're seeing?
You don't obviously what happened before that, but what do you know is what happened when we said hello and we started talking. So that's just absolutely right.
All right. Yeah. So then we made plans to meet up for coffee, and we did. And after the pleasantries were exchanged, Nav got into his story. I don't know what the segue was.
Yeah.
But as he started telling me his story, I just sat back and I listened.
Yeah.
And he was all apologetic towards the end. He's like, man, I totally hogged the conversation. And I'm like, if you only knew, I'm smiling and I'm like, if you only knew, because I knew in that moment that he was going to end up on this podcast. He didn't know, but I knew. And so so before we get into your story, I got to tell you, Nav, when I think of your story, if I was to give the audience sort of an image as to what to expect, I thought of Jerry Bruckheimer. You know his big budget blockbuster summer movies that
never heard of him.
Come on,
I'm serious.
Top Gun,
okay,
Bad Boys,
okay,
Pirates of the
He's a
Caribbean.
producer?
Yeah, he's a producer.
See, I don't know those people, man.
big budget summer blockbuster
Yeah.
when summer blockbusters were fun, right? You'd look forward to these previews. And the reason I say that is because his movies had a bit of everything. There was like a little bit of love story. There was like David and Goliath. The bad guys, it felt like the bad was winning over the good. And then all of a sudden there's plot twists. And then there's like giant
You
explosions.
sure that's not a Bollywood movie? Because,
Sounds Bollywoodish
Yeah,
too,
no, right.
yeah. So who's a Bollywood director I could kind of...
I have no idea.
But anyways, that's what I think when I think of your story, because it has a bit of everything. It's this epic story of, and I don't even want to build it up way too much. I'm going to have you tell the story, but that's what I thought about when I heard your story. So why don't you start off by just telling the audience a little bit about yourself, and then take us back perhaps to that time when you were in Dubai, ready to sort of flex your wings, if you may. You're living at home, and there comes a time when the kids are ready to flex their wings and fly out of the nest. Although if you're from our part of the world, some kids never leave the nest.
No, they don't.
In fact, they have their own kids in the same nest. But whatever. So take us back to that part in Dubai after you introduce yourself to the audience, and let's start the story in Dubai.
All right. Where do I start? My name is Nav Vijan. You've heard that. I was born in India. I moved to Dubai. I wouldn't say I moved to Dubai. My parents moved to Dubai, and I was just taken with them. I was probably 3 years old when we moved to Dubai. So that's my childhood. That was in Dubai. It's very different from what it is right now. Dubai now, Dubai then, completely different. Anyway, grew up in a typical Hindu family. Because we're from Punjab, there's a bit of an overlap into Sikhism. So there's a lot of people, a lot of cousins, a lot of family that are Sikh. And that was the kind of environment I grew up with. I was too small. I didn't know what to make of it. But there was always, I think, questions, I guess. Why this, why that, which are not usually encouraged in the culture, and you would understand that, right? But I always had those questions. I may not have voiced it as often as I should have, but it was always there. That's the environment I grew up in. My dad started going to Burma, which is Myanmar now, for work, and he got introduced to Buddhism. So there you go. We had some Buddhism influence, right? I after finishing my school in Dubai, moved to Bombay, and then met my girlfriend. I met this girl who is now my wife, and she comes from a Islamic background, right? And I don't care, right? I just loved her, and we went ahead. We finally got married. So I had all that influence. So that's no shortage of information and no shortage of what should I say? The school of thoughts, so to speak, right? And
so just real quick, so before you move on, so your dad's from India. I didn't realize. I thought all Punjabis were Sikh, but you're saying that you have a Hindu background.
No. So all Sikhs are Punjabis,
okay,
but not all Punjabis are Sikhs.
Okay, so that's news to me.
Yeah.
So
it's like saying, I don't know, all Saudis, are they all Christians? Or sorry, are they all Muslims? I don't know. It's one of those tricky ones, right? So, but there's a big overlap. Because it's the same language, same culture, same food, same dance moves or whatever, right? So there's a big part of Hindu Punjabis that would even go to a Sikh temple,
okay,
and a lot of the Sikh would go to a Hindu temple because there's a bit of an overlap.
So your dad was Hindu, but he was in Dubai, which is a Muslim country.
Yeah.
And then you're studying in Bombay.
I'm studying in Bombay.
Now Mumbai. And you meet your wife, who is Muslim.
Still Muslim, yes.
Now, was your dad just kind of, was he a practicing Hindu, or was he Buddhist?
No, here's the thing. There's about 33 million gods in Hinduism. Wow. I think I got it right. If I not, forgive me, please. And so, it's I don't know how does one have, say, a god? You could pick whoever you want to, and you could worship that. So there was all that different options in my house. And so my aunt worshipped a certain god. My mom worshipped a certain god. My dad had something else in his mind. My uncle was something else. But when my dad started going to Burma, he got introduced to Buddhism, or a type of Buddhism, which is to do with meditation and whatnot. And he would bring that back home and tell us about it and tell us how awesome that is and so on. And he would practice it. So I wouldn't say
it's a big hodgepodge at that point.
It is,
of spirituality.
and you know what? I wouldn't say he's Buddhist because it's not like he's practicing Buddhism, but what he's doing is all derived from Buddhism, so if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's, I'm like, okay, hey, you know what? We've had already all this different religions in the family. One more, big deal.
What's one more?
Right? So
tell me then, when you met your wife, who's Muslim, because I know a little bit about that side.
Yeah.
So how did your parents
respond
when you said, hey?
It was a big no-no. My dad's like, if this is the girl you want to marry, then I have nothing to do with you ever. You're dead to me. Go away. And they did everything possible. And you know what? I'm not mad at them. I think they were trying to protect me. Not knowing that I absolutely love this woman, and I can sincerely say I love her today more than I did when we were still dating. And it's only God and God alone that's made that possible. With all the differences even that we still have, I know it's God and God alone that's kept us together. But anyway, going back to that.
So you married in India and then brought her back, or
yes.
did you come to Dubai and then
so
get married?
we dated for 8 years.
Oh wow!
So it was like, honey, this is not working out. I can't take this. It's too much pressure. Parents are freaking out. Blah blah blah. It isn't really worth it. So we took I don't want to say took a break, but we didn't see each other for almost a year or two. But I know it's God's plan to have us back together, because how do you explain that in a city like Bombay or Mumbai, where you have over 25 million people? I go there for a quick break, and in that one place that I am, I see her.
Come on, it's meant to
25 million people, right? And it's not even like I'm close to where she used to live, so there's a chance I might see her. No, it's and you go, how do you explain that? So anyway, I didn't know it then, but I look back now and I go, God, I see what you were trying to do there. And, with a shadow of doubt, I know that's the woman he wanted me to marry. And even the timing I know it's God's.
Okay, so now you're married.
Now I'm married.
Your parents have nothing to do with you. They're like...
At that point,
yes. At that point,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so now what happens? So you're back in Dubai.
So I'm back in Dubai. I'm now in the real world. I'm not in the daddy business. I'm not in the family business where I could do whatever I wanted.
So you were shunned out of the family business.
I was like, son, don't want to see you again, right?
Okay.
And I felt bad because I thought I broke their heart. I thought they've done so much for me ever since I was a kid to my adulthood. And I go, I owe to them. So I felt like I deprived them, And so that guilt was always there. But at the same time, I was hoping they would understand that she's a really nice girl. And she really is a very nice girl. And that she would look after me, and we just perfect together. Right. But they didn't see that. And I don't blame them for it. And anyway, so now here I am now in the real world. I go, I got to find a job. I'm married now. I don't even have a job. What do I do? So I go apply, and then I get hired by this one company. And I go, this is awesome. Thank you. Let's go. I got a job now. And a few weeks in that job, my friends tell me, or my colleagues tell me, hey, the boss, the CEO, he's coming to town. I'm like, okay, should I be scared? He says, no, you shouldn't be scared, but be careful. I just want to caution you. I go, dude, now you're really getting me, I'm getting your word now. What is it? He goes, he will keep talking to you about Jesus. So stay away from him. I go, okay, thanks for letting me know. So I know who to keep away from. He shows up one day, and he goes, come on in, son. I want to talk to you. So he takes me in his conference room, and he sits down, and he goes, do you believe in God? And he had this strong, at least for me, it was a strong, Texan accent, right? I'm not going to try that. But he goes, son, come on in. I want to talk to you. So I go in, I sit down. He goes, what's your faith? I don't have an answer. I just came up with something just to appease him so I could get out of that meeting room. And I said, my conscience is my God. And some absolute BS I just threw at him.
Some universal stuff.
Some garbage I threw at him. And that's all I knew. And he said to me, he says, have you heard of Jesus? That's the first time I heard someone say that to me. And I go, yeah, I think I have. There's a lot of Catholics in India. And I said, yeah, I've heard of Jesus. He started talking to me about it. But again, nothing was sticking because I didn't want to talk to you about it right now. Right. I just want to go back and get to work.
Right.
Anyway, that was that. And nothing came out of it. But I think about 6 months later, he comes to me and he says, son, you want to get promoted? And I'm thinking, heck, I want to get promoted. What are you talking about? I said, I've just recently got married. I don't have the luxury of whatever I had before. Any extra money? Yes, let's bring it on. He goes, okay. Then pack your bags. I'm sending you to a different country. You're going to be leading the whole country as my location. I'm like, score. Let's go, right? I go, by the way, where am I going? He goes, Afghanistan.
Come on.
I said, sorry? I said, what? He goes, yeah, you're going to Afghanistan. I said, really?
And what year is this?
This is 2000.
Are we talking Cold War, post-Cold War?
No, we're talking about 2004. So
okay.
post-Taliban, right? Well, debating now, Taliban's still back in there. But anyway, it was 2004, I would say December. And he said that to me. And I said to him, I said, I don't know what to say. I want the money. I want to grow. And I said, but, how do I tell my wife that? She's just moved to Dubai. We've dated for 8 years. She's just moved to Dubai. She hasn't even been to Dubai for 4 months now. And I'm going to tell her, hey, honey, good luck. My parents don't want to talk to you. My family doesn't want to talk to you. You know nobody in Dubai. But enjoy your life here. I'm moving to Afghanistan.
Oh, so this wasn't like take your wife with you?
No, this is just me alone. I'm not taking her there. I'm not, I said, if I die, I die. But I'm not taking her with me.
Sure, okay.
And I go back home and I tell her that. And she looks at me. She goes, you must be out of your mind. I said, I guess I am. Anyway, long story short, she understood the reason behind it. And here we go. January 2005, I'm on my way to Afghanistan.
Oh, man. All right.
So on that flight, my wife gives me a book. She goes, you like reading this. The book says Conversations with God. I go, that's pretty cool. She gave me that book. I started reading it. And it was a bit of this, bit of that. Good read, tickles your ears. And you go, yeah, this is nice. But I didn't know anything better. I go, this is beautiful. Oh, so God can talk to me through billboards? Oh, wow. Oh, God can talk to me through a bird? Oh, wow. Awesome. And I'm reading it. My boss takes that book and he goes, may I see that? I said, sure you can. I give it to him. And he goes, it's a good read. I said, sure it is. He goes, but it's not consistent. I go, what's it not consistent with? And that was his awesome segue. He goes to the truth. And just like Pontius Pilate, I go, what is truth? But unlike him, I couldn't just walk away. He had this guy sitting with me on a plane from Dubai to Afghanistan. I had no choice. He slips me the New American Standard Bible. He says, here's the truth. I go, oh, I see what you've done here, cheeky, right? And he goes, you know what, son? After work hours in Afghanistan, there's a whole bunch of entertainment. You're going to get really bored. You might have something to read, so this will be a good book to read. I go, okay, I'll take it. So I took that. 6 months it was sitting on my side table, just catching dust. And one fine day, I just opened it and started reading it.
So now you've been in Afghanistan for 6 months?
I've been in Afghanistan for 6 months now, yeah. But again, not at a stretch. I would go back every 3 weeks, right, R&R. And, so I'd go see my wife, come back, go for the weekend, come back. So that's what I did for 6 months.
So 6 months now in Afghanistan?
6 months now in Afghanistan.
And you haven't touched the Bible that he gave you?
I haven't touched the Bible that he gave me.
Okay.
And then I started reading it. And did things change overnight? Nope. I read something, I go, yeah, whatever. And I read some more, and I said, okay, fair enough. And I read some more. And then whenever he was in town, my boss, we would have, I look back and I go, we had some really good conversations. Staff has all gone home. We're sitting in the office, switch off the lights because you don't want to keep your lights on and, be like a,
or target.
Be too obvious that you're there. We'll keep the lights down and we'll just sit there and talk, We even sit in the office and have a Corona or something and just talk. And, and I will give him credit that he never gave up on me. He never gave up on me. He kept talking to me. And I go,
You're talking spiritually, right? Like he kept talking about Jesus or the faith, or we're just talking in general.
I'm talking about my boss talking to me about, hey, Nav, what's going on, son? Okay. And what did you see in the Bible? What's your thoughts? What's your questions? And I remember asking him this one question. I said to him, I said, what's your name? He goes, I won't take his name, but he goes, what's your name? And he goes, this. And I said, my name is Nav, right? Your name is Omar. Your name is Elijah. And I said, we all need names because we are many of us. Why does he need a name? Why do I have to call him Jesus? Why don't I just call him God and that's it? And I can't recall what he told me, but he did give me a pretty good answer. He says, when you write a letter, you address it to someone, right? That's why it gets to the right destination. And when you're praying, you call him by name, and he's got a name. And I said, okay, fair enough. And that wasn't the only question in my mind. There was tons of questions, and you have to understand, coming from the background that I did. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of stuff going on. And here I am presented with something that's literally upside down. Because, we heard about warriors in Hinduism that would go and kill and conquer and whatnot. And then I see Jesus that was a humble servant, right? And then, here he goes, when you are a leader, you're the first. And he says, no, the one that serves is first. upside down. I said, okay, hang on a minute. Is this upside down or are we upside down? And he's right side up. Those kind of questions. And then my wife came to Afghanistan. She spent 2 summers there. So that was good. So she spent some time with me. And 2006, ending of 2006, almost 2 years, is when I moved back to Dubai.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when I moved back to Dubai, something just made me want to read that Bible. And
now, if I'm just going to recall something that you said in our conversation at the coffee shop, because I know we got cameras on us and sometimes we tend to forget things, but you said that there was a scare in Afghanistan at one point. Was that before or after? Like, so you're not back yet, right? Like,
no,
there's a scare there in Afghanistan. So tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. And before I say that, I just want to tell you this, that there are things that God does that we don't see it when it's happening. It's just because we're so caught up in the moment. But when you look back in hindsight, you can go, God, I see your fingerprints. I see what you're trying to do there, right? He's a God of reconciliation. He's a God that brings things back together. He's a God of order. And even though how it happened sounds kind of gruesome, but, you know, I still see glory. I still see beauty in what he's done. So the street I lived on, it was predominantly, you know, Germans, Americans, British, and so on. And I was the only East Indian dude there, right? And you could even pinpoint, oh, there you go, that's the Indian dude. Apart from one more guy, and he got kidnapped by Taliban.
Jeez.
And I would have my routine. I would come back from work, leave my phone in the house and go to the gym, and then grab a bite and come back home. So it'd be about an hour and a half, about that much time. That one day, I left my phone at home, and I go to the gym. I go grab a bite real quick, and this friend of mine meets me in the restaurant. He goes, "Hey, do you want to come out for a little bit?" I go, "Sure, I'll come out with you." And I didn't realize that I left my phone at home, and I said, "I don't need it. Who's going to call me? It's late now anyway." And by then, the news, apart from outside of Afghanistan, had just totally blown the story. Right, of what happened.
That
this person got
kidnapped.
kidnapped. And, you know, if you ever watch Indian news, they just make a big deal out of everything. I'm not saying this wasn't a big deal. It's a man that's been kidnapped, and his family's praying for him, right? But my mom thought it was me because they didn't release the name.
Oh, because you said there's only one other.
And she didn't know, and she knew the street I lived in, whatever. And she thought it was me. And my dad thought it was me, too. And my dad hadn't spoken to me for a good almost year and a half or two, right? And, and then I come back home, not super late, maybe 10-ish. Right? I left home by 6. I came back home at 10. I look at my phone. It was literally red, hot. I looked at my phone. There's about 4 missed calls on it. I go, is that a glitch? What's going on? So I called my mom up, and I thought my mom fainted on the phone itself because she heard my voice. And my dad comes on the phone, and she goes, do you have any idea what's going on? I said, I don't know. What are you talking about? He goes, all this happening in Afghanistan. I said, I'm here. I'm on the ground. Nothing is happening.
If you want to use some Punjabi in there just for impact, you could do that.
He goes, tenu pata nahi ki ho raha utthe, and I said, main the haga. There's nothing going on, right? And he said to me, he says, your mom is freaking out, right? I said, I understand. I'm sorry. What do you want me to say? I had no clue. He says, are you safe? I said, yeah, Dad, I'm safe. And this is the first time he ever talked to me, and I could sense his concern. And he said something to me I'll never forget. He goes, come home. Come home right now. I said, Dad, they don't even fly out of Afghanistan or Kabul in the night. They don't have the equipment. I can only fly out in the morning. I call my boss up, and he goes, son, go back home, all right? You'll always have chances to sell more couches and mattresses and pillows. Right now, your dad's calling you home. Go home. And I go home, and that's how my dad and I reconciled.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he looked at me. He goes, how's your wife doing? I said, she's doing okay. I said, is she with you in Afghanistan? Is she here? I said, no, she's in Dubai. He goes, why don't you bring her home? And then he goes, but make sure she, covers her head and all that. I said, you tell me whatever you want. I'll just make sure she does that. She comes home, and he blesses her. He gives me a big hug. I just say, you know what, God, this is awesome. You helped me reconcile with my dad. So that was amazing.
Wow. Yeah. As you're saying that, I have goosebumps as you're telling me this because when you
listen, you have to understand, that guy who eventually got killed, that could have been me.
That could have been me. He got killed subsequently?
They did kill him, though. They did kill him, though. And, so I was sad, really, really sad. And, but I look at it, I said, okay, God, you helped me reconcile with my dad. And it was gruesome how it happened, but, yeah.
So you got spared, but But that led to a reconciliation
That
with
led
your
to a
family.
reconciliation with my dad.
So eventually you wrapped things up in
I
Afghanistan.
wrapped things up in
and then you
Afghanistan. I came back to Dubai.
Okay.
And now I'm in Dubai. And am I a believer yet? No, but that seed is already in there, and that's bugging me now.
So you've been reading?
I've been reading. I've been
like-
questioning. I've been reading. I've been questioning. So this boss of mine, he goes, "Hey Nav, I'm in town." I said, "Great. You want to come with me for a church service?" This is my first ever church service.
They have churches in Dubai?
Oh yeah, lots of churches in Dubai.
Okay.
Oh, the Dubai government is amazing that way. They are very liberal. Yes. Not only that, they don't even, I believe, unless it's changed now, they don't even charge rent to the religious establishments because you're like, this is religion, this is God related. No, we're not taking money from that.
Okay, so your boss says, come with me to
Boss
church.
says, come with me for church service. I'm thinking, okay. I'm thinking big chapel, cathedral, the father and those things they carry with that smoke, whatever. That's my picture in my head because I've never been to church. And
that's what they show in the movies, right?
That's what they show in the movies, right? So so I go there, and it's a little hall, little hall, nothing, maybe a little bigger than what we're in right now, and there's these kids on stage with guitars and drums, and worshiping, and I'm like, this is a cult. This is definitely a cult, but and then the pastor goes, all right, everyone put your hands together for our guest speaker, and he calls my boss up. I'm like, what? He's a priest, he's a pastor, I don't know what to call him. And he goes on and delivers one of the best messages I've ever heard. I go, this is amazing, right? And I'll confess this, there was this part of me that wanted to go to church just because that put me in the good books with my boss. But, and my trust was more on him than the word itself.
Sure.
But you know what? God says, hey, you know what? I love you too much to let that happen. I'm going to correct it. So here I am now, going to church with him whenever he was in town. He was in town once in 6 months, once in 4 months, whatever. Then it automatically and organically, I don't even know how, I started going to church myself once in every 2 months or so. Then it became once every month. Then it became twice every month. It became 4 times a month. Then it became 8 times a month. I would even go there for quick Bible studies on some Tuesday evenings.
Okay, so tell me now, you started out to appease your boss. Yes. He's like, okay, he wants me to go, I'm going to go, maybe there's a promotion or whatever.
Because I was the only one in the whole office that actually went with him to church. So everybody else looked at me saying, oh, you're very close to them.
Because the rest of the office warned you, right?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so tell me then, what switched as, it went from like, okay, I want to appease my boss, so I'm going in once every 6 months, and then once every so often, and then regularly. Yeah. What's happening in your mind? What's compelling you to go more
Good question,
frequently?
Right? Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know. Because here's the thing. If someone asked me, what was that day or that time when you put your hands up and said, yes, Jesus, I don't even know. I don't even have a date when I gave my life to Christ. I know it was a long transition. And I started going to this one church, which was a good 70-kilometer drive from where I lived.
70?
70.
Okay.
So it's in Sharjah, right? And the pastor there, Pastor Sean Matthew, loved the guy. And he's about, 12, 13, maybe 14 years younger than me. So when I started going, I was in my mid-30s. So this guy is still I thought he was a teenager when I first saw him. And I said, this kid is going to teach me. But, man, I love the guy. And, if you listen to it, Sean, love you, buddy. And anyway, so I started going there. And, there was something that was pulling me back. And, because it wasn't easy getting there. There were other churches in Dubai also that I could have gone. This is in Sharjah. It's a different city, province, what do you want to call it?
And the reason I'm asking is because I didn't I started going to church because of my now wife, right? She dragged me to church, and I respected her, liked her too much. So that was my in. Yeah. But the reason I asked what kept you going, because I had this feeling, and I couldn't explain it at the time, and it was like this constant tugging at my heartstrings. Yep. And it made me keep going back. And so I'm just wondering if it was something similar where you just there was a pull.
It's similar yet different, same but different. But the reason why I say that is because he pulls everyone, he draws everyone in very different ways. He's very personal. What he does to you is not going to be the same as mine, but there will be that similarity. Sure. Is something you feel like there's a void, and that's the only place where you feel like it's filling up, right? I can't explain it. So anyway, I started going there, and this is me, when I'm looking at 10-year-olds that know, the whole New Testament as if they memorized it, and I'm like a 35-year-old trying to even understand where is Book of John to even start, right? What's the New Testament? Sorry, Old Testament? I don't know. And I feel like I've got a lot of catching up to do, so I'm there. Anyway, something just made me want to go there, and it wasn't easy going there because it was a long drive, right? But I still went there. And I still remember when I told my wife about it, she was like, "Why church? What are you going to church for?" And I understand she's not trying to stop me from going to church. She's just curious, and she just want to make sure that, hey, I'm okay, that kind of thing. Trying to protect you,
sure.
right? That's all backed with love. I understand that, but little did she know what I was there for. And so now we're looking at 2009, maybe, right? So it's been 3 years since I've been going back and forth. And pastor says, "Hey, you're on next Sunday." I go, "What do you mean I'm on next Sunday?" He says, "You're preaching next Sunday." I said, "Cool, I'm preaching next Sunday. Let's go," right? And you haven't really accepted Christ at this point, or have you? I think at that point, nobody even asked me that question. I didn't even ask me that question. I thought,
you're just a regular. They've
just
accepted you into the congregation.
I was just there.
All right.
And my pastor goes, "You're on." And I wish I could delete that video from the YouTube of what I preached, because it was terrible, man. It was terrible. I mean, a 4-year-old monkey could do a better job. But you know what? I look back and I go, "God, you're just doing what you have to do, right?" And he's just it's a journey. And I started late, or I didn't start late. I started at 35. That's it. It's not late or early. It's just the time when he says, "Now it is." Right. That's it, right? And and then I even asked my pastor once. I said, "Pastor, when are you going to baptize me?" He goes, "Was that you last year that I baptized?" I said, "No, it wasn't me." He goes, "Buddy, we got to do that right now." And he makes a big announcement at church, and we go to the pool right behind the church, and he puts me in, pulls me out. I said, "Now what am I supposed to do? I don't even have a change of clothes."
Well, so you just said, when am I going to get baptized? Did you even know what baptism was?
I knew what it was, but I said, "Hey, you know what?" And here's somebody that hasn't even put his hands up and said, "Yes, Jesus." But I was there.
All right.
I didn't know that, but I was there. The fact that I even asked him, "Hey, I want to get baptized," he goes, "Right now, let's go." And Sean takes me at the back, dips me in there, and he goes, "Here's a towel, tie it around your waist, and you should be good." I said, it's an hour drive, an hour and a half drive back home. He says, "Leave the windows open, you'll dry up." I was like, "Yeah, it's Dubai, it's 45 degrees outside."
Here's what I'm imagining: and little oasis in the middle of the desert with palm trees.
No.
And
It was like a regular tub.
Okay.
But I kid you not, it was hotter than a hot tub, because that's Dubai, right? But he puts me in there. And we had a couple of other pastors from USA that used to be ministering to our church, and he was there. It was perfect. I know some people like to, pick a date and get everybody in there. It didn't turn out like that, right? Nothing wrong or right about it, nothing good or bad about it, just the way it was. And I thought it was perfect. And I go, boom, and here I am standing outside the church, totally drenched, and saying, "Hey, I got baptized today.
I'm baptized
today. That's awesome."
All right. Then what happens?
And then what? I wish my pastor had told me that, "Son, you got baptized today." I said, "Uh-huh. Watch out now. Things are coming your way." I want to be very careful how I say it. Nobody forced me to do what I did. But I borrowed some money and tried to work with my boss that I was with. He and I like this. Okay. Amazing guy, right? So we like this. He's like, "Nav, I'm now promoted to the managing director of the company." And I borrowed some money from my dad. My dad like, "How much do you want?" I said, $300,000. He goes, "Take it." I'm like, "What? This is awesome, right? I can take that?" I said, "Yeah, you can take that." And I lent it to my boss. And
so you borrowed money from your dad to lend it to your boss?
To lend it to my boss. The dumbest thing I've ever done.
Okay.
Good intentions. But again, that was
so he just asked you one day, "Hey, Nav, can I borrow some money?"
He didn't even ask me. I just knew there was a need.
Oh, you felt there was a need.
We had a project at hand that needed some funding, and I said, "You know what? Let me do that for you," right? And again, so I'm not gonna blame anyone for this. This is my doing. I did that, and like I said, God says, "Hey, so why are you doing that? It's not your job. I will provide. You don't have to play God." Again, something that became very clear a lot later. Now we're in 2009, 2010, 2011. The money that I'm owed now is substantial.
So that wasn't just a one-time borrow.
That wasn't a one-time borrow. I was letting go of some of my salaries to kind of fund some of the other projects that we're doing, And it got to a point where it became very painfully uncomfortable. And I said, I can't carry on. A lot of people left the company. I still stuck around. I was told by my friends, dude, you need to get out. And I said, no, I want to help. I want to do what I can. And again, right intentions, but not with discernment. And it's important you do that, because even the best things you do with the right intentions, if it's not discerned, can lead to a bad choice, completely bad choice. And again, like I said, I do not want to blame this on anyone, because we are given things in our hands as stewards, and we're caretakers. We don't own it. Everything you have, your resources, your body, your time you have, people around you, your money, your assets that you own. You think you own them? You don't own them, right? These are just given to you. And anyway, long story short, we got to a point where it started getting really tough.
So you've become almost like a bank for your boss, because you're trying to fund these projects.
Yes, and I also became like the owner of the company, because a lot of people didn't know him, because he lived in a different part of the world, and I was in Dubai, and I took some credit from some vendors to get some projects done, and now I'm owed to the vendors, but they don't know him, they know me.
So you're the face of the company.
I'm the face of the company, even though I'm not the owner.
Oh, okay.
It got to a point where the vendors couldn't wait anymore. Or they came after me. It got to a point where the local authorities needed to get their, licenses, fees, and whatnot, and we didn't pay them on time, so they shut the office down. So here I am now, after working in the company for 8 years, with no job, standing outside the office. The office is closed. There's a big seal there, and my staff looks at me and says, "It's your fault. Had you been firm, we would have not been in this position." And I don't know what to say to them. I had no ground to stand on. And so when the vendors started calling the office, looking for me, and there's no answer on the phone, what do? They show up at the office. When they show up at the office and see a sign saying court closure or whatever that is, they think I'm absconding, I'm just running away. So what do? They put police cases on me.
Oh, jeez.
So that happened. And then I started getting calls from the police saying, hey, you need to come in. And I'm like, I can't. I know I'm going to get arrested. And I said to myself, I said, God, I can't do this. This is not the way I should be. I'm not going to be evading cops when they've been calling me. So I show up at the police station. I get arrested. I was told that you'll be fine because it's this one case, put your passport, and off you go till you resolve your case. At least you're not leaving the country. But apparently there was multiple cases on me. So that one passport didn't cut it. So they had no choice but to arrest me. So I got arrested.
So your passport becomes almost like a collateral?
Like a collateral. So they know I'm not going to leave the country, right?
But when there's more than one case?
But there's more than one case, which I didn't know. So what happened was, here I am, I give my passport, I'm about to leave, the guy goes, come back. I said, what? He says, apparently there's multiples, so we can't let you go. I get arrested, I get handcuffed, and they put me in. And I'm thinking to myself, what have I got myself into? And now, because the company doesn't exist anymore, I don't have a visa for Dubai anymore, my work visa. So there's nothing, there's no foundation. So what happens when the company is not there and the staff has no visa, they eventually, take your retina scans, they ban you from the country, and they send you back to wherever you came from forever, and you can't ever come back. Wow. And even there, you think, how bad can it get, right? And even there, can I share with you that you just know God's got his hand on you? So watch this. My wife is trying to get these vendor cases off me. And I get put on a bus a week later after being in jail to be sent back to India forever with my retina scans, right, and my fingerprints, and then they put you in a plane and send you back, and you can never come back. And I didn't even know where they were taking me. And they took me on this bus, and they scanned my fingerprints, they scanned my eyes. That's when it hit me that, I'm being deported. I said, this is where I grew up. I spent 36 years of my life in Dubai. I said, if I don't come back, I don't come back. But I don't want to have the option of not being able to come back. Then this is where my family is. And I go, God, how does this bring you glory? I cried out to him right at that point. And then when he looked at the system, he goes, we can't send you back. I'm like, why can't you send me back? He goes, because there's vendor cases on you. Had you been just the company case where the company does not exist and your visa is not valid anymore, had that been the only case, we could have sent you right now. But because you owe money to people, you're not allowed to leave the country. Oh. And that very thing that was hurting me saved me. I looked up and I said, God, I see what you're doing.
Okay, so See, this is where I was right when I said Jerry Bruckheimer. This is how the plot has just taken this incredible twist. So, tell me, as you're going through this I can't even imagine what you're going through in that moment, because you're married. Do you have any kids at that point?
2 boys.
2 boys. How old?
1 year and 3 now.
What's that?
1 year and 3-year-old.
A 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're behind bars.
Yeah, and my wife is outside with them.
Okay, so I want to just take a moment and ask you about your faith at this point, because, yes, you've been going to church. Yes, you got baptized, and it was just kind of, you said, I didn't really raise my hand. It just kind of happened. So where is your faith at this point? Are you like all in with Jesus? Are you like, 1 foot in Buddhism or one foot into...
I'm just getting excited to share that now.
Okay.
So, you can think whatever you want to think. God will make everything very clear. He'll burn off all the other fluff that you have on you, just so what's left at the end is just Him. And it's a painful experience. It's a painful procedure. But man, does He do it well. So my first week in prison, all I did was complain, bicker, make plans of how I'm going to take revenge one day with this man, blah, blah, blah. And none of that is from God. All that's from the pits of hell. That's from devil. Right. And I got to a point where I just broke down. They used to have a dining mess where everyone gathered for food, right, for lunch and breakfast and dinner. But when they're not serving, it was the quietest place in the whole prison. So I would just go there. It would be freezing cold because they crank up the ACs, but it'd be quiet. It'd be dark. I'd sit there and bawl and to go cry there. Say, God, forgive me. I don't want to blame anyone for this. Because, at the end of the day, we're not answerable for each other's actions. We're only answerable for us, what I have done. I don't have to give an account for you. I don't have to give an account for Elijah or anybody else. I just have to give an account for myself. I said, you know what? I was not a good steward of what you blessed me with. Forgive me. What do you want me to do now? Like, I'm here now. I can't even go anywhere. What do I do here now? And no matter where you are, I believe he'll give you a job to do. He'll give you something that He wants you to do right there. And sure enough, that same afternoon, somebody tapped me on my shoulder and said, hey, they make these announcements in the prison in Arabic and Urdu. I don't speak any of those. Could you translate for me, please? I said, sure.
So what language was that?
It was, what do you mean?
So he said the guy who spoke to you.
The guy who spoke to me, he asked me, can you translate? He was asking me in English, but the announcements were made in
Urdu and
Arabic and Urdu.
Gotcha, okay.
And I said to him, I said, this is what it said. He goes, oh, okay, thank you. And I said, what's your name? He goes, Alex. I said, Alex, where are you from? He goes, from Nigeria. I said, okay. And when you're in prison, small talk, what do you do? He goes, hey, buddy, how's it going? How's it going? What are you in for? Murder. See you later. Right? Hey, buddy, what are you in for? And he goes, rape. I go, okay. I think I heard my friend call me. I'll call you back later. And you walk away. You don't know where to start because I wasn't, it's not something I'm used to. And then if someone says, hey, I'm in because of a check that I bounced and I wasn't able to pay, I say, oh, I can relate with that, right? And somebody tells me, hey, something happened at church and I'm here because of that. And I go, okay, I can talk to you about that. Anyway, so I talked to this one guy, Alex, and he shared with me a story, and I go, dude, I can relate with that. I think I know how you feel. And, when you've been through something that somebody's going through, to say I know how you feel comes out very genuine. You're not making it up. You could go through something that I've never been through, and I could say, oh man, I know how you feel. No, you can't, unless you've been through it yourself. Right. And I could genuinely look him in the eye. I said, dude, I know how you feel. He goes, how? I said, this is this. He goes, wow. He goes, are you Christian? I go, yeah. So you're Nav Deep, whatever. That sounds like a Pakistani, Punjabi, whatever Hindu name. I said, yeah. And he couldn't understand that. And he said to me, he said, there's a bunch of others in my group here that are from my church, and they've had some bad experiences. They're all here right now. I go, okay. So we got together when everyone else went to bed. We got together in our little cell groups, right? Cell groups. I had to throw that in, man. I started. I didn't even realize it, but I was preaching to them. And here I am, a rookie Christian, and God says, "No, I'm going to use you. You think you're an empty vessel? That's perfectly fine. That's exactly what I need. I'm going to use you." And I started, working with them, talking to them, encouraging them, praying with them, all of that. And we had to do it discreetly because, bear in mind, we're still in an Islamic country, right? Yes, you have the freedom, but you have to be still wise. About 15 days later, my dad bailed me out, and we got some extension on some of the cases. At least I'm out now. And I'm like, okay, see you guys, Alex and your gang. Good to meet you. Bye-bye. A week later, I'm like, I can't help it. I have to go back. My wife is like,
To the prison?
To the prison. My wife's like, what do you mean you want to go back to the prison? I said, no, I don't want to go back in.
Oh, yeah,
I just want to go touch base with these guys.
Sure.
And she's like, don't be stupid. You're out. Thank God for it. And let's move on. Let's work with our lives. I said, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And I want to do that too. Because at the end of the day, yes, my ministry, my home, my wife and my kids, these are my first ministry. I got to look after them. But something drew me back to the prison. I can't even tell you how. But then how do I do this now? I can't just show up at the prison and say, hello, Mr. Muhammad and Mr. Abdullah and Mr. whatever. I'm here to evangelize. Put me inside. They're like, you know what? We'll put you in forever and you can evangelize all you want.
Right.
How do I start that? I'm praying. I say, God, show me how do I do this? Guess what? Alex calls me.
While you're in this...
I'm out. Yeah, I'm out.
You're out.
I'm just praying that God, would you connect me back to the jail, right?
And Alex phones you.
Alex phones me.
This is the guy who led you to the cell group.
This is the guy who tapped me on the shoulder saying, please translate. I go, man. He goes, you sound really excited to hear from me, man. I said, dude, you have no idea how excited I am. He goes, what do you want? I said, where are you now? He goes, I got sentenced. I said, okay, so where are you now? So I'm at the central jail. I'm now at the detention center where I met him. I said, okay. He goes, I got sentenced. I don't care. I need you to make me a visiting card, a visitor's card, like for me to show up, right? Because you have to nominate me. I can't just show up and say, hey, I'm here to meet Alex. Who's he? Oh, I don't know. I just want to go talk to him. They won't let you in.
Right.
Somebody has to nominate you from the inside out. So he did that. And then I show up at the prison, and the guy goes, yes. I said, Nav Vijan, I'm here to see Alex. He looks at the system. He goes, yeah, that's your card. I said, yeah. He goes, how do you know Alex? What do I say?
Right.
He's my friend. He goes, how do you know him? What do you know him from? I said, he's my brother. He goes, brother? He's African. You're Asian, whatever. How do you know? I said, oh, it's a different kind of brother. And I just, anyway, I go see Alex. Alex is super excited that he's got somebody that he can rely on. And I asked him, I said, Alex, what can I do for you right now? And he goes, dude, why would you want to do anything for me at all? You're here to see me. That's more than enough. I said, no. I want to get you out. He goes, why? I said, I don't know. I just need to get you out. He goes, there's a lot of debt that I have to pay. I've got this case on me. I've got that case on me. I've got this case on me. I don't believe you really want to do that. I go, I do. He said, dude, you don't even have a job. What are you going to do? I said, it doesn't matter. Tell me what I need to do for you. So he would give me, tasks for the week. Like, okay, it'll be the equivalent of driving from here to, say, Kelowna and meet somebody there and get his paperwork sorted out and come back to, say, Whistler and then meet somebody from the police station and get his paperwork signed off and then go to the Nigerian embassy and get that stamped and bring it back to the court. And then also collect money to pay his debts and collect enough money to eventually buy him a ticket to go back home. That's the job. And then I go, hey, time's up. Let's go. I go, hey, Alex, I'll see you next week, buddy. God bless you. And I'm off. I come back.
So you're running around doing those tasks
that week,
for him.
I'm doing what I'm doing for him. I come back the week later. They're making an announcement. Alex, Nav is here to see you. He's not even coming out because he didn't expect me back. And I'm standing at the window or sitting at the window. He shows up, rubbing his eyes. Go, what are you here for? I go, dude, didn't you ask me to do this for you? Okay, and? I said, so here's the paper from your cousin, whatever, who lives in, say, Kelowna, that far.
Right.
Here's the police report from the Whistler jail or police station, whatever that you had this case on. And here's a stamp from your Nigerian embassy. So here you go, man. He looks at me and he's in tears and he goes, you did that for me? I said, yeah, I did. He said, why would you do that for me? And I said to him, somebody paid my debts a long time ago. I'll tell you later, but right now, enjoy this. And he just looked at me and he just started bawling. And I think, when you meet a need and then you share the gospel, it becomes very easy. I looked at him, I said to him, can I share something with you? He goes, I'm all ears, man. Tell me whatever you want. I said to him, Jesus died for you. Even though he went to a church, he had some background, but I don't think the foundation was even there. And he just bawled and he said, buddy, you restored my faith in Jesus today. And then eventually, I would stand at the church with a shoebox. I literally painted that with the bars on it. So there's a shoebox with a little slit on the top. I would stand there at the end of the service, and everyone walking out would, put in $5, $10, $5. And people that I knew, I would kick them and say, dude, I see what you're putting. $5 is not going to cut it. $10, 20. They would put that. And how much ever I collected, pastor would match it. So if I collected $500 that one afternoon, he would say, how much do you got, Nav? I said, I got $500. He goes, here's another $500 from the general offerings that you can add to this and go help Alex out. So I'd go back to the prison and help him out. And then I had enough to pay off his debts. Eventually, he had enough to buy his ticket back home. And I said to him, guess what? I paid your dues. I've got your ticket. You're going back home.
Oh,
And he looks at me, he goes, I would have been here for 10 years in this jail, right? And I'm going back home. I said, yes, you are. And he goes, how do I ever thank you? I said, you don't have to, but I need you to do something for me. He goes, what? I said, before you leave, pray about this and nominate somebody that I can work with after you're gone, because there's no way I can come back here if that chain breaks. He said, okay. He introduced me to somebody else, and I got him out eventually. That took another 3-4 months. Did the same thing. Go here, drive there. Go here, drive there. Now, everyone in the jail even knows me by name. He's like, hey, Nav is here, Nav is here. Some of them started suspecting me, saying, I think they would speak in Arabic and say, Hada from Kalisa. Kalisa is the term for church, but they didn't know how to prove it. So, and I wasn't there officially. I was there unofficially, just undercover sort of, evangelist, if you want to call it. And I was nervous at times because I was like, one day I might get caught and I could be in big trouble. But I said, God, you know what? You've called me this. You'll take care of it. There were times there were close calls. But you know what? Deep inside, I know who I am. I could be, excuse me, I could be chicken shit. Excuse me. But it's through him that I didn't feel an ounce of fear at all. I was just there doing what I knew what God had called me to do.
So you were just doing what you felt he was telling you to do. So every time you'd pay somebody's debts off and get all that stuff done, that person's out. Now you're off to the next person.
Yeah.
So how many down the chain are you at this point?
I'm now on my fifth guy.
Fifth guy, okay.
And watch this. His name is Ezekiel. And you know when that scripture where he says, thank you for feeding me. Thank you for clothing me. Thank you for, looking after me. Thank you. And he says, when do we do any of this to you, Jesus? He says, truly I say to you, when you do it for the least of these who've done it for me. That was my experience there. And so this guy, Ezekiel, there was these kids from Vijan, from Vancouver that came to Dubai. And funny enough, some of them are actually from Cloverdale. And Pastor tells me, Nav, these kids think they've come here for a vacation. Take them to the prison and get them introduced to what's going on there. So I'm trying to help Ezekiel in that period. And I asked him, as Ezekiel, guess what? I collected $800 for you last week. I'm going to put it in your jail card. In your jail, they have they can buy stuff in the jail also.
Sure.
He says, can you do me a favor? I said, what? He said, can you split it up into two and put it for these other two guys? I said, who are these other two guys? He says, they need it more than I do. I said, hold on a second. You were in jail. I told you I'm doing a one-on-one until I get you out. You telling me not to give you that money. It's not like you were sitting in a mansion somewhere,
sure.
Sipping on pina coladas. You're in jail. I'm giving you money. You don't want it? He goes, no, can you please bless these two guys instead? And I said to him, I'm here to minister to you. You're ministering to me right now, right? Just being totally selfless. Anyhow, so I take these two kids from Vijan, come with me to prison, right? And one guy was Elijah, the other guy I can't recall. Anyway, so we go there. And the other two guys that Ezekiel wanted to help, so they're sitting on their little windows, right, talking to these two guys from Vijan, praying. And I'm just looking at it saying, this is awesome, right? I've got these little kids from Vancouver, and they're getting a little glimpse of what ministry is all about. And, the glass, I can see Ezekiel at the back, but I can't see him clearly because of a bit of the glare. I look like that, and I see him just standing there with his hands out and just bawling. So I tapped on the glass. Ezekiel, come on this other window. He comes on the other window. He sits down. He puts his hand on the glass, and I put my hand on the glass. And I said to him, what's going on? He says, God is good. And he had his hand on the other side like that. I had my hand on this side like this. And we just cried for half an hour. I just looked at him with his tears coming down his cheek. And I looked at him. I said, God is good, right? He goes, God is good. And we just stood there. And I'll never forget that, because that was really powerful, because he said to me, he says, you've restored. I know God is real now. And I said, the fact that you want me to help these two guys first before you, so you would rather wait another 5-6 months before you get out of jail, but you'd rather have these two guys go. And these two guys, they were least deserving. They were a bunch of, sorry, I don't want to say it. They were just, I don't want to help them. They were just completely undeserving, completely ungrateful. But I said, you know what? That's the reason why I need to help them. I got them out. Now it's only Ezekiel left. And now he's my seventh guy, because he would have been the fifth. Fifth is gone. Sixth is gone. Here's my seventh guy. And I am now at the verge of leaving for Canada. I don't want to do anything in Dubai. I've had enough of Dubai. Dubai broke my heart for whatever happened. I'm like, okay, God, you've opened a door for me to go to Canada. I'm going to Canada. That's fine. But I said, God, my prayer is that I can see Ezekiel off. I don't want him hanging there, especially this guy. I'm leaving on a Sunday. Friday is when we used to have church services. Thursday night, I get a call. And I recognize the number because it says Central Jail. But usually what happens is it's a collect call. Because I told them never pay for the money. They never put coins in there. Call me and I'll pay for it. That's on me now. But this time around, it was calling me directly, and I answered it. And he says, Brother Nav. And he had the strong Nigerian accent. And funny enough, all of these guys from Nigeria. I don't know why. But anyway, he goes, Brother Nav. I said, what? It's Ezekiel. I said, yeah, nobody else calls me from the jail, dude. You're the only one I know there. What's up? He goes, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, you know, you can't give me any more bad news. You're already in jail. What's the good news? He says, good news is I'm going home today. I said, I don't want to even know what the bad news is because there can't be any bad news. He goes, well, they can't find my suitcase with all my clothes and all that I had, my possessions. I said, you probably had torn pants and stinky socks. Nobody needs that. I'll meet you at the airport when they take you there. He says, well, I don't want to go in the clothes that I have. I want to have clothes. I said, leave it on me. I go pick a suitcase from my wardrobe. I threw whatever I could find in it. I could any socks, shoes, half bag of cookies. I don't know. I just threw whatever I could find in there. I just threw it in there, and I sealed it. And I called him back, and he says, yeah, they're going to pick me up from the Central Jail at about 9 o'clock, and the airport is about half an hour drive. So unless they're picking up more people, I don't know, but it could be a window from 10 in the evening till 6 in the morning. I'm like, dude, that's not a...
Like Telus does, right?
Like, yeah, we'll be there. I said, so what do you want me to do? He goes, I don't know what else I can tell you, but that's the time that I'll be there.
So 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning.
10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. That's my window. I said, so be it. I said, God, you teaching me patience? Let's do this. So I go there, and I'm there 9:45 just to be on the safer side. And there's nowhere for me to call him. I can't check on him. I can't track him. All I have to do is wait. So I'm in the car park waiting. It's been 11 now, 12, 1. I'm like, man, I want to get a cup of tea or a coffee, but I don't want to leave because if the bus comes in, they get everybody out, they put them in the airport jail, they call it, right? And then, they stay there overnight, and the next day they have their flight, they put them on a plane, and off they go. I said, I don't want to miss that. It's just a 5-minute window, and if I miss it, I missed it, right? I said, but I need to go to the bathroom real bad. I need to get something. I'm falling apart right now. It's now 3 o'clock. I said, man, I just ran to the bathroom, came back, and I hope I haven't missed it, and I didn't. And I, got myself there was a little stall next door, and I bought myself a cup of coffee or tea, whatever, I can't recall. And I'm waiting there. And I'm like, God, did I miss him? The thought, am I in the right place? Right. Is there another section? I'm just hoping that I don't miss this guy. And then I see the bus pull over at 4:15. Wow. So I'm falling apart because I haven't slept all night. And then, see these guys coming out of the bus, all with shackles and, chains and whatnot. And that was sad to see, but I'm like, I don't care. You've been through enough. You're going home right now. And then he jumps off. And then about 10 or 12th person that jumps out of the bus is him. And the first thing he does is he jumps off the bus. And he looks around, trying to find me. And I waved out to him. He nodded me and says, I acknowledge, I know you. And then, and they took him all in. Then they made announcements. Anyone here that's here to give something to one of these people before they leave? I said, yeah, it's me. He says, what's your name? I said, Nav. Who are you here for? I said, Ezekiel. He says, okay, sure, bring it in. So I gave him the suitcase. And, so now he's on the other side of the bar. But it wasn't a bar, more like a mesh. So I couldn't even shake his hand. I could only stick my finger through it. I'm like, dude, can you touch it? He goes, yeah, I can touch it. And it was so weird because it was kind of, these two grown-up dudes just
touching fingers.
And I said, that's all I have. I said, I'm never going to see you again, right? That's all I have. And in me, I had this desire to just hug him. But I couldn't. That's all I could do, right? That little thing there. And I said, I know it's really weird. I don't care what the world says. I'm just enjoying this right now, right? In a spiritual way. Yeah. And then the cop comes. He goes, he goes, Khalas, yalla, go now, right? And I said to him, excuse me, sir. He goes, yes. He says, I know this is absurd. He goes, what? I said, I know you can't obviously let this guy out because it's a jail. You can't just let him out. So go shake hands with your friend and give him a hug. But, man, is it possible that I could just give him one hug? And I'm like thinking in my head, I said, you idiot, what have you asked him? This is not going to happen. Are you kidding me? You're in a Middle Eastern jail, whatever, and you're asking this guy to let him out? But that's what God does, right? He said, sure, no problem, take him. I'm not kidding you. And even Ezekiel and myself, we were like, what? He'd literally just let him out. He stepped outside. He could have ran away and they couldn't have caught him. He just stood in front of me. I just gave him a hug and I cried. I said to him, I will never see you again, possibly, right? Because you're going back to Lagos or wherever you're from. He says, yeah, I just want to tell you, man, that I love you, buddy, and I'll see you one day. He goes, yes. And he slipped the letter in my pocket. I still have that letter. That letter was addressed to my church and just thanking them for what they've done. And I got in touch with him because on that letter I had a phone number. So I got in touch with him not too long ago. I asked him, what do you do in Lagos now? He goes, I'm in full-time ministry.
Wow.
I said, what do you do? He says, prison ministry.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
That's fantastic.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
So I was like, come on, right?
Got goosebumps,
so,
man, as you're telling
but
me
here's the
this.
thing. When I was in that initial days in prison, someone said to me, oh, isn't this awesome? Isn't God awesome what he's doing in life? And when I said, be quiet, man. You don't know what you're talking about. I look back now, I go, God, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That for me, that 18 months of going back and forth to the prison, getting these 7 people out, I'm only in touch with Ezekiel, like on and off, right? I don't even recall the other people's name apart from Alex, right? And they've never reached out to me. They've never said, hey, Nav, thank you. And you know what? It doesn't matter. That's not what I did it for. But it's just awesome to see, Ezekiel. What a name, right? What a name, Ezekiel.
It's there's such a reverence to the story, especially at this point right now. I don't even want to make an Ezekiel joke, but every time you say Ezekiel, I think like Pulp Fiction and that famous line, the Ezekiel 25:17. Samuel Jackson. Yeah. Anyways, we'll just leave that one.
I thought that was from the Bible.
We'll
it's
just
not
leave that one right there.
Not, yeah.
That's the first thing I did when I became a Christian. I went and looked at like Ezekiel 25.
I memorized it thinking that was from the Bible.
It's not.
I would start quoting it to pastors. They look at me and say, dude, don't watch Pulp Fiction. Please don't, right? I go,
man, I feel like we need to do a part 2 because
no.
I wasn't kidding.
How are we doing on time?
No, well, forget the time. This is good. What I wanted to kind of focus on as we start to, hey, if we got to do part 2, we do a part 2. But the thing is that here's this like, you end up in jail, because of something that wasn't really even your fault because you're trying to. Okay, well, let's not semantics, right?
I know what you're trying to say. Yes,
you're trying to help somebody, and you end up going to jail for it. And now you're there, and you're in your own mess, and in your own mess, you hear God saying, "I want you to help these people," and then you, not just 1, not just 2, not just 3, you ended up 7 people.
That's a good number, right?
A good number,
That's
right?
a good number.
Okay,
yeah.
And so, what is home life like at this point? What is your wife, the children, work? Where are you even getting all this money?
I'm hoping that someday my wife would watch this video, and I want to tell her something, and I want to ask her to forgive me for not telling her this 5 years ago. You already know this, but I'll may I go ahead and?
Yeah, man, it's your story. You'd say as much as little as you want.
So, 2019, I got a call from my mom saying, son, Dad's in the hospital. He may or may not make it. I need you to come to India. I said, Mom, I'm coming right now, right? And I'd already become a Canadian citizen, so I had to apply for my visa. That took a little bit of time. So it took me a day or two, whatever, right? Anyway, I'm looking online to find the best ticket I could to get, quickest way to get to India. And the only flight that I'm getting is through Hong Kong. I'm like, I don't want to go to Hong Kong. It's just, I don't want to go to Hong Kong. And I'm trying to get some other flights, and no, somehow it's just pointing at Hong Kong. I go, God, why are you doing this? Because my ex-boss lives in Hong Kong, or lived in Hong Kong. I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to Hong Kong. I don't want to go there.
Is it just because all that hurt?
All that hurt and pain and whatever, right? In my heart, I knew I'd forgiven him, right? And I'd asked for forgiveness for myself too, because it's my decision, right? I'm accountable for my actions. I'm not accountable for somebody else's, right? But at the same time, you forgive yourself, you forgive others, and you ask God for forgiveness too. So I'm sitting there saying, I don't want to go to Hong Kong. And that's the only option I'm getting. It became very clear. You're going to go see him. You're going to meet him. You're going to love on him. And you're going to tell him that you love him. And that you're going to tell him that thank you for not giving up on me when we used to have this conversation in Kabul. I said, part of me wants to kill him. But no, I don't want to I don't want to kill him. I said, how do I do that? How does one do that, right?
So this is your conversation with the Lord?
With him. And he says, in your strength you can. But with me, you can. You just take the first step, and I'll take care of the rest. I flew to Hong Kong. I texted him saying, hey, I'm in Hong Kong. I want to meet you. He didn't know what I wanted to meet him for. And he says, I'd love to meet you, Nav. And he was very kind. He was very I want to meet you. I want to see you. I saw him at a distance in central Hong Kong where his office was, and he came running, and I grabbed him and I hugged him, and I bawled because we had history, right? I've known him for this long. Yes, there was this painful moment in the middle, right, where I felt cheated, I felt betrayed, I felt all of that, and I felt abandoned, right? Because I was in jail, and nobody came to my rescue, right? But again, God's doing something. We don't understand it there. That's why there's a scripture in the book of John when Jesus is having his last supper with the disciples, and he says to them, and this has become my mantra, if you want to call it. He says, "What I do today, you will not understand. But in due time, or at one point in time, you will understand what I'm doing." And that's become my thing that I hold on to every time, because what is going on right now, I don't understand, which is fine. I don't need to. Imagine if you understood it all. What a mess would be, right? Anyway, so here I'm in Hong Kong. I see him and I hug him and I embrace him. We go for a bite together. We pray together. I told him, I said, "Hey, look at the Bible that you gave me." He goes, "That's the same one?" I said, "Yeah, it's kind of falling apart now because there are duct tapes on it and whatnot, and it's got more ink on it than it had even before." And I said to him, I want to thank you for never giving up on me. I said, "You have no idea. I would not even go anywhere without my Bible now. It's just one of the things. It's my little blankie. I can't leave it." And I gave him a gift that I bought for him, and we spent time together. We prayed together. And I just said to him, "I love you, man." And he was in tears. I was in tears. And then a couple of hours later, I shook his hand and said to him, I said, "God bless you. I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but I just want to say thank you." And I left and I got on the train. And on the train back, I go, "Oh, I didn't ask him about the money." Because it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. And here's the thing. I think it's 2 Corinthians 13:5. Correct me if I'm wrong. It says, "Examine yourself, to see if you're in the Lord," right? Unless you fail the test. So this for me was a test, not for God to know if I've forgiven him or not, because he already knows. He doesn't test you to check if he, let's see if I can find out. No, it's not for him to know. It's for us to know where do we stand. And that was a good assurance, because I look back and I go, "God, you know what? I've said it before. Yes, I've forgiven him, but you've proved it to me that yes, I have actually forgiven him, because I felt no anger. I felt nothing. I felt love for him. I felt compassion. I felt all of that only God can do." And you go, "How do you explain that? That doesn't make sense." I've shared that with my cousin, Pooja in Dubai, and I told her about the story, and she goes, "I can't believe it." I even showed a picture that I took together with this guy, and she goes, "That's just crazy. How does that even happen?" I said, Tell me you don't see God here. His fingerprints here. Is there any other explanation that you can give for this? She goes, "No." And she's not a believer yet. Hopefully one day. But, it's...
So you close that chapter in as in as Jesus-like manner as you possibly could, right? Because
two big words, yes. But
no, I know.
I know what you're saying.
Because he said, "Hey,
if you do not forgive, I will not forgive
Heavenly
you.
Father will not forgive you for yours. Just drop your gifts. Go reconcile with whoever you have an issue with."
If you're making your offering at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you,
there it is,
leave your offering at the altar and go first be reconciled with your brother, and then come back and present your offering.
Oh man!
Right? Make friends quickly with your opponent at law. So there you go.
Nav, we can sit here and talk for a while. I
left my phone there, so I don't even know what time we are. So you tell me.
Okay.
You're the boss.
Okay. It's okay. We're in good company, so that's
Awesome.
fine. I didn't want you feeling rushed at all, because this is just a portion of your story. I'm sure there's the family, the wife, the kids, the moving to Canada. We may have to do a part 2 at some point. But I wanna just a couple things that as you were talking, that I wrote down earlier on when you said when your dad thought that it was you who got kidnapped in Afghanistan, and he said, "Son, come home."
Yeah.
Man, that brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Isn't that what our Heavenly Father is saying to us?
Come home.
Come home.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you said, "We paid your debts."
Yeah. That was, oof. I look back and I think about that and kind of play that in my head, and I go, man, that sounded pretty cool, right? But I didn't know it then. I just said whatever that came to my heart. But here's the thing, though. For me to tell somebody in prison, "I know how you feel," without me ever being in prison, that's just fluff right there, right? But for me to tell them, "Hey, I know how you feel. I was there myself," right? And then you're on the same page, and then you go, do whatever you can for them with God's help, because none of that. I mean, I survived a year and a half without a job. I don't even know how I did it, and here I am paying thousands of dollars for people that I don't even know to get them out and never see them again. For what? And, my wife asked me, what are you doing that for?
Right.
Right? What's it going to help you? And I go, I understand. But
It's
then
a
again,
higher
it
calling,
says,
right? It's a higher calling.
No, but
it's hard to understand.
Again, I don't want to make it all but don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and thieves break in and steal. Instead, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth not rust destroy nor thieves break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. And I go, you know what? None of this is going to get me there. This isn't. Oh, I've done all this. So God, am I good now?
Right,
no.
Right. Yeah.
But we've done this because we're already there, right? It's not to get there. It's in response to what He's already done for us.
And which is what I wanted to highlight was, you paying somebody's debts off is one thing, but this is what our Heavenly Father has done for us: is He has paid off our debt.
Yes.
Because left on our own
Yeah.
and trying to do these good works to attain salvation.
Yeah.
Is not going to happen. It'll never be enough. And that's why He had to come down. He had to die a brutal death on the cross so that our sins would be washed clean. He paid for our debts.
Yeah.
So that is powerful, man. And I know you speak about all this with great humility because I know the conversations we've had leading up to this, and you're like, man, I don't want to embellish anything.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it, I don't want to make it like a theatrical thing. Like I want to be able to say it as humbly as possible.
It's not about me.
But you're right. When you look back, you see God had a plan. Yeah. And He glorified, He was glorified through your story. And I don't know how many people are going to hear this, and it's going to be encouraging for them. So
hopefully so.
So I thank you for your time. And I always ask my guests before they go, if you want to look the audience in the eye and you want to part some wisdom, something on them. Just something that they can do, something tangible, right? Because we don't know where people are at in their life right now. Yeah. I don't know what they're going through. But if you want to address them and just through your experiences, if there's something you filter down, like, guys, something practical for them to apply right now, what would you say?
Wow, that's, there's lots, but if I could condense it to one thing, this is a very short life. This really is. Compared to eternity, this is, that's what it says, vapor in the wind, right? It's a little blip. And let's focus on the never ending, which is our final destination, which is our final home. And what can I say? God is good, and you will not understand what He's doing right now, but trust in Him. There's this, He loves you more than you can ever imagine. It's undescribable. And He sent His Son for a reason, because He loves us. Again, more than you can imagine. And all He wants is relation. His religion, that's all man-made. He doesn't want any of that. It's not a performance. It's not any of that. For those of you that have good dads, you don't need to perform in front of your dad to go see him or to impress him. Nothing. Mm-hmm. You just show up and go grab him and say, "Daddy, I love you." And "Daddy, I'm sorry." And Dad says, "That's all right, son. I got you. Mm-hmm. I got you." So, that's why the scripture where it says, if your son asks you for a loaf of bread, will you give him a stone? Mm-hmm. If your son asks for a fish, will you give him a snake? No, the answer is obviously no. But then you, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children. How much more will your Heavenly Father give to those that simply ask Him? That's good. So He's just waiting to hear from you. He knows what's in your heart even before you say a word. So why do we need to speak to Him? It's a relationship. You talk to Him. You express yourself. You go up to Him. And He says, we don't have a high priest that does not know how to sympathize with us. But He's been through everything that you and I have been through because He came in the flesh. So He knows how you feel. All He wants is for you to show up at the throne of grace and ask for help in the times of need, and He will deliver you. And don't ignore, explore what I've just said, and seek Him with everything you have. And He's not too far off. He's right next to you. He's in you. He's around you. He's He lives inside of you.
Nav, one more thing. I'm going to put you on the spot for one more time.
Okay.
I was having this conversation with my dad recently, and he's of a Muslim background still. Yeah. And he asked me, "Omar, what are the prerequisites? What are you working on prerequisites-wise to secure eternity?"
Yeah.
And I told him, "Dad, there are no prerequisites other than one.
Yeah.
If you declare with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and you believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved." So, yes, maybe there's Christians watching this, but what if there's somebody who's not a Christian that's watching this? Can you address what the prerequisites, like if somebody wants to make that decision today, what do they have to do? Like, what are the prerequisites? Is there a 10-step process for them to come to Jesus? What do they got to do right now?
Sometimes it makes you think how simple this is, and it sounds even, too good to be true kind of thing. That's it. Yeah, that's it. You don't need to do any. How do you put it?
No tasks, right?
There's no task.
work.
No, there's not. You just show up. Your dad loves you. Your daddy loves you, and he just dying to. He died already, and he rose from the dead. But he just wants to hear you. He just wants to hear from you. It's not a religion.
So how do they? If somebody's ready right now,
yeah.
How would they do it? What would you say?
Just get on your knees and say, God, I am a sinner. I repent for what I've done. I know that in my own capacity, I can never do what the standard you set for us, because we'll all fall short of what He set as a standard. But I repent of my sins, and I thank you for sending your Son who paid the price on my behalf. And He said, Son, you go free. I'll pay your price. What does He want from you? Nothing. All He wants you to do is acknowledge what He's done. And He says, you just accept that in your heart. I mean, think about the man on the cross right next to Jesus. He was a culprit. He was a sinner. He was all of that. He's a thief. He was everything. All he said to Jesus was, Lord, remember me when you enter your kingdom. And Jesus said to him, Son, today I will receive you myself in paradise. I will see you in paradise, something like that. And you ask yourself, what did he do? Was he even baptized? No. Did he go to church? No. He simply acknowledged that was God right there who was dying for him, for his sins. And that was enough. So it doesn't have to be any elaborate prayer. Just say, Father, I come to you, and I thank you for your Son who died on the cross for me, for my sins. I accept that. I want you to change me from the inside out. I love you. I want to live for you from now on till the day I see you again. I pray this in the name of your risen Son, Jesus, our Messiah. That's it. That's as simple as that. And you can say it however you want it, in whatever language you want to say it. It doesn't matter. And He loves you, and He'll take you in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nav, thank you so much, man.
Thank you,
was such a pleasure. I'm going to give you a hug in a second.
Yeah.
And so that's it, guys. This is the episode. What a powerful story. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for making yourself vulnerable, for sharing stuff that, is painful, but yet there's a joy in your voice, and I see it. So that's it, guys. So we subscribe to the channel, like the video if you resonated with the message, share it with somebody. Write a comment if you want to talk to Nav, or if you have questions for him, just put them in the comments down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.